Okay, you could pull up the slides and
Yeah.
I want to introduce Patty. So welcome everyone um, to our monthly Collaberex workshop. I'm thrilled to have Patty Franco here as our speaker. She has been a Collaberex master facilitator for a while now. She's a highly skilled executive coach with over 25 years of experience in coaching, training, and talent development. She's worked with talented leaders who have the drive to go further, but are missing the confidence, clarity, and communication skills to move from their current situation to their ideal state. She holds a Master of Education in Adult and Organizational Development from Temple University in Pennsylvania and a Bachelor in Psychology from Pace University in New York. She's also certified in assessment tools such as positive intelligence, MBTI, DISC, and the Energy Leadership Index. She's she has a lot of letters after her name. She's a certified professional coach and a graduate of the IPEC program and a trained mental fitness coach via the Positive Intelligence Coach Training Program. So she's overqualified for everything that she does in her life,
And I
except
have a
for parenting.
hyperachiever saboteur.
Uh,
Yeah.
yes. Anyway, so let's welcome Patty, and it's all yours. And she's going to save the last 10 minutes for Q&A. And then as actually also has agreed to stay later if we have other questions. So
Yeah, I'm happy to
thank
do
you.
that.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you. And hi, everybody. It's good to see so many faces that I know and to see those of you who I haven't gotten to know yet. I hope this can be the beginning of that. So, I would love to continue connecting with folks. If we run out of time or if you just want to shoot the breeze, I would love to get to know you all better. Okay. I jump right in. So that was my bio slide, which we can get past. Already heard it. So just a quick additional points about, how I work with clients. So I'm an executive coach. I also do corporate training, but primarily this is my niche in terms of who I work with. I tend to work with business owners and executives, typically director level and above, who are also parents. That just seems to be who I attract the most, but I certainly work with non-parents as well. And my focus is helping them shift from the survival part of their brain and way of being to being in a thriving mode, so they can have, thrive on all cylinders in their careers and their personal lives. And the reason I have the love the push motto and as my little theme there is that, when I started my coaching practice a few years ago and I was polling people and doing all my marketing work to develop my brand, what I discovered and getting feedback from my existing clients was that what they all said was that they loved most about me was that I give them the push they need, but I do it with love. So that became like my theme. So I think that's what sets me apart. And you can ask some of the folks in the community would probably agree with that. And then what I do specifically is one-on-one coaching, group coaching, and training and workshops. So I, obviously I've been with Jonathan for a few years now as a facilitator, and I love creating these groups. So what we're going to cover today, and we're going to go through it, I'll cover a lot, but I'll spend time on the mechanics of habit formation. There's tons of resources and tools I'll kind of put out there, and whatever I can do to support you beyond today's conversation, I'm happy to do so. But it's really to understand a little bit about why bad habits seem so alluring and they can be tough to, break. But more so, we're going to focus on how habit formation actually works. And I'll give you some on the spot coaching on, one habit you're looking to form and have you sort of begin to map that out. So we'll dive into some active work. So if you don't have a notebook handy or paper and pen, you want to grab that. So why does this all matter? So I always start with this, habits are one of the few things that we actually can control. We've talked a lot in our Collaberex groups about, how we have to be nimble and, adaptable because so many things are outside of our control, especially how others show up in situations. But this is about self-management. And so we actually do control our habits and the things we spend our time and attention on. So we just need the right system and the right method to to maximize them. So that requires some reframing of our beliefs about systems and the value they hold for us, as well as the structure and the repetition, that help them actually succeed. And ultimately, why we want to do that is so that we can reach our full potential. So what are some, just looking for some input here, what are some habits that you have that have become automatic over time? It's like anything. Who wants to throw out a few examples of habits things you do every day, you don't even think about
Drink coffee.
it? Yep, drink coffee.
Brush your teeth.
Checking my email.
Yeah.
Checking your email, brushing your teeth, I heard.
Drinks.
Morning meditation.
Glad to hear that. Morning meditation. Okay.
Drinking water every day. 60
Okay.
ounces, yeah.
60 ounces. Wow, good for you. I need to get with that program. Yeah, so things, I'm sorry.
Gratitude practice every morning.
Okay, great. Gratitude practice. Awesome, awesome. So some of those habits, and you may want to look at it through this lens, like when did you start them? Some of them we were taught since birth to brush our, since we had teeth, to brush our teeth, a couple times a day at least. But things like meditation and gratitude journaling and things like that are probably, I'm guessing, more recent, at least since you were an adult, maybe even a teenager. And so, how did you start those habits when they first started is one of the things you want to, give some thought to. And you may not have had a scientific approach to it, but you'll be able to compare the successful habits that you have or things that have stuck over time to, okay, how do I apply that same methodology to habits I want to implement moving forward? But essentially, we're wired this way. You are what you repeatedly do. So one of the first learning principles here is that it's repetition that creates new habits. And this is a core principle from the book. And Jonathan, there's someone else in the waiting room. I'm not sure if you're seeing that, but I'll leave that up to you.
Okay.
The core principle from the Atomic Habits book, which James Clear wrote, which I highly recommend if you haven't read it to read it, is focusing on improving by just 1%. Because it's the small changes that really put us on the path towards exponential growth. And one of the stories he tells in this book that has stuck with me since I read it is the story of this biking team in the UK and how they were prepping for an Olympic, run. And they were not performing at the level that they needed to, let's say a year out from the Olympics at the time. This was like several years ago, like probably more than a decade ago. And this one particular team. And so he brought in scientists and experts and, all kinds of folks, nutritionists and athletic experts, a whole team of people. And they put the strategies together whereby literally day over day, they would focus on improving them in just 1% way. So for example, like for Marta, for your water intake, for someone that's not used to drinking water on a daily basis, can you drink 1 ounce of water more every day? And over the course of 30 days, you've now increased your water intake by 30%. Well, what they did with this bicycling team was they measured their muscle mass, they measured their weight, they measured their nutrition, and all the experts would gradually move the needle with the team members by 1%. So each time they had to perform a stamina exercise, they had to go 1% farther the next day. They had to eat 1% more protein. They had to, all of the things that they had to do to maximize performance, they focused on improving 1% every single day. So one of the principles I've applied to my life, and one of the things I struggle with sometimes is consistency in going to bed at a certain time. So I'm like, well, what's 1% earlier? Can I go to bed 10 minutes earlier tonight than I did last night? So coming up with very doable, very minuscule improvements so that over time, when you think about it, 3 months, 6 months, a year, you can have exponential growth. And so what happened with the cycling team is that after 12 months of this 1% improvement in all these metrics, their performance metrics, they were actually able to go and they won to the Olympics and they won 80% of the gold medals that year. And all of those athletes went on to then achieve other great accolades and win other contests and other subsequent competitions. So if you read the book, you can get the full story, but it's a really remarkable story of how such small progress led to, gold medal and lifelong achievement. It was really powerful. So that's one of the things that has really stuck with me that I wanted to share. The truth is, you actually don't rise to the level of your goals. You actually fall to the level of your systems. So it's things like, and I have this picture on the bottom there of the woman packing, when you get ready for vacation, how many of you are the type of folks that just throw everything into the suitcase and go, and you'll figure it out when you get there and you hope you have everything you need, right? Some of you are that type of personality. And then how many of you are the type that's like her, where you're like, okay, I have my pre-packed toiletries, I have, my a checklist. I know I'm the checklist type of person, so I don't forget anything. And that it depending on how important those things are to you. But for me, I usually don't forget things because I just rely on the checklist. That checklist is my system. So it's foolproof. I don't have to think about it. When my kids go to camp in the summer, we have a morning checklist and an evening checklist, so they know what to pack for the day, and at the end of the day, what to clean and take out and replace for the next day. So it's the systems that drive the outcomes that we want. It's not the goal of being more organized. So you really want to examine, you don't have to use any one person's system. You want to use the system that works for you, but have a system. So that's another key point here. And feel free to jump in at any point if you have like a burning question. We will take Q&A at the end, but if you have something immediate, feel free. Okay, so how habit formation actually works, and this is from the habit book. The first aspect of habit formation, well, I'll just put all four up at the same time, is the cue, the craving, the response, and the reward. So what happens is, we have a cue, and a cue could be, it's a signal basically, or, something that happens that cues us into the fact that there's a need, right? So for example, let's say you're going through your work day and all of a sudden you're starting to feel checked out and you're bored, right? You're tired of working on whatever you're working on. Then you have the craving, which is like, I need a distraction. Right. So then what's the response? I might do something, that's more entertaining, like check social media or flip on the TV and watch a show for a few minutes, or pick up a phone call, even though it's going to take me off track with what I'm working on. But it's, it's my best friend from college and I'd much rather talk to her right now, because the reward is laughter, positive hormone release, entertainment. Right. So it's cue, craving, reward, and response. So if you're taking any notes, I would definitely jot those four things down. That's what you want to know is the makeup of a habit, right? So in this case, you could arguably say that, getting distracted and checking social media is a bad habit. However, a good habit, it could be the water consumption. Like, okay, so the cue is you wake up and, you're thirsty. So the thirst is your cue. So you're craving water. So you go and you have the water, you take care of it. The response is that you feel hydrated, your energy level hopefully goes up and the thirstiness goes away. And the reward is that you're feeling healthy, you're feeling optimized, you're proud of yourself. There could be multiple rewards there. So those are flip examples of, the quote unquote bad habit versus the good habit. But let's take it a step further. So there's actually 4 criteria for building or breaking habits, and we call this the habit loop. So the first is, and this is all still James Clear's content, is make it obvious. So I'm going to use a quick example here of me, trying to get on track at the beginning of the year with my exercise routine. So make it obvious the way that I do that in the morning. I set my alarm for 6 a.m. and I have my workout clothes already out, but they're on a nice, a dresser that's away from the bed. So I have to get up and go get those clothes, to get dressed in the workout clothes first. So it's right there in my face. I can't forget, or I even put them in the bathroom. So like I go to brush my teeth and the clothes are there. The next is to make it attractive. So how do you make doing something that maybe your brain doesn't fully find as attractive? How do you make it more attractive? Well, one way is through visualization. So what I try to do is I visualize how I'm going to feel 2 hours from now after I've worked out, had a good breakfast, and started my day, because I started my day the way I intended, which was some physical exercise. So I start to think about feeling good, feeling energetic as opposed to lethargic. I don't need that extra cup of coffee because I've already gotten my energy up. I start to think about how I'm going to feel when I do this 1%, every day for 5 days. I'm going to do 20 minutes of exercise. And at the end of the week, I'm going to feel pretty darn good about myself. So that's how I make it attractive. If I really need to up my game, I might have photos of, me in a favorite outfit reminding me that I want to look that good again, whatever it takes, but make it attractive. Make it easy. So one of my hacks, because I'm not a morning person, is, I could get up, go brush my teeth, and quickly talk myself out of exercising because I have so many other responsibilities pulling at me in my household. So I might just work out in my pajamas because that's the easiest thing to do. I don't even have to change. I just go downstairs, work out, and there's no chance for me to derail myself. So make it easy. And then satisfying, do something you love. So for me, I love dance, I love movement, I love things with fun music. So find a way to make it satisfying. Another example would be like going to the gym and having that be the only time that you listen to your favorite podcast, right? So you're plugging into something that's satisfying while you're doing the hard thing, which is getting on the treadmill for half an hour. So those are the criteria: obvious, attractive, easy, and satisfying. You guys with me? I can't see your faces, so someone say yay or nay.
Yay. Yeah.
Yay.
Okay.
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you. So this is just a little bit more. I won't go too further into depth because I think I gave a good example here, but this is a little bit more about, making it obvious what that means. So make the cues visible. You want to track your behaviors, your progress over time. And then a strategy called habit stacking is like what I just mentioned, taking a habit you already have, like let's say coffee drinkers or tea drinkers in the morning. So if you wanted to develop a habit of doing a gratitude journal, you can stack it with something you're already doing. So when I have my coffee, I will also have my journal there, and I will journal, and write my gratitude stuff or journal about whatever while I'm drinking my coffee. For me, that's when I do my morning meditation. So I might sit in a comfortable chair in my living room, have my coffee in my hand, but put my earbuds in and plug into a 10-minute meditation. So I'm stacking the habit of coffee drinking, meditation, whatever works for you, but stacking one thing on top of the other. So something you already do that's a habit with the new habit you're trying to form is a good hack. Make it attractive. We talked about that. Other ways to make it attractive is find other people who are doing the thing you're trying to develop a habit around. So that's why people go to exercise classes. That's why, you might join a meditation group or, some other, have an accountability buddy, whatever you can do to make it motivating for you. Making it easy is decreasing the friction between yourself and the desired behavior. So another hack there is the 2-minute rule. So let's say you have writer's block and you need to do some creative writing piece and you're just having trouble getting started. The 2-minute rule is saying, all right, I'm going to sit down and I'm just going to write for 2 minutes. I'm not going to pressure myself to go more than 2 minutes. And what usually happens is we start writing and then 15 minutes go by and we're like, oh, okay, now I'm in the groove. So now I'm going to go for half an hour. I just keep going at it. So the 2-minute rule just helps you get unstuck. And even if you only do it for 2 minutes, at least you did 2 minutes and you can kind of reward or acknowledge yourself for that. So I sometimes do that with the workout. I'm like, oh, I'm so tired. I really don't want to exercise. Let me just go work out for 2 minutes. But who am I kidding? Once I go down and get on a bike or do something, I'm going to keep going. So it works every single time. Make it satisfying, as I talked about. One of the things to add on to that, though, is never miss twice. So if you have a bad day, you're off track, you didn't drink all the water, you didn't do the writing, you didn't work out, whatever happened, just have a rule that you can't skip 2 days in a row. You have to get on track the next day because we're human, right? We're going to fall off the wagon. We're going to, get off track, but we need to have rules and structures and guidelines to get ourselves back on track without the shame blame game. So ultimately, habits are not based on outcomes or goals. They're based on our identity. And once they are part of our identity, then they are unbreakable. And so what do I mean by that? I'm going to use the example of smoking. So, someone who is a smoker and wants to quit smoking, one of the ways they can do that is start creating an identity in their mind about themselves as a non-smoker. So what would a non-smoker do in this moment if they're craving a cigarette? They would go have some gum or go, talk to a friend to distract themselves. They would read something inspiring to keep them focused on, remaining a non-smoker, and that might be an extreme example, but it's starting to identify, like, for example, meditation. I used to be someone who thought of myself as someone who doesn't meditate. Well, now I identify myself as someone who is a meditator. That's my identity. So if I'm identify as a meditative person or a person who meditates, what does a person who has that identity do? They do more meditation, right? So it's changing your frame of reference about who you are or who you're growing into. If whether it's an athlete, someone who is an avid workout person, someone who, drinks 60 ounces of water a day, that's part of your identity. And once you really adapt that identity and take that on, even if the habits are up and down, it is unbreakable. Over time, you will keep moving in that direction because it's how you identify. So that has been a game changer for me and for a lot of other people. And then there's the 7 habits, and I'm sorry if my, I know I probably have these black bars up here that are getting in the way. The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People from the Stephen Covey book. I'm sure a lot of you read this back in the day. If you haven't, it's another must-read book. This is just a very short, high-level overview of the key principles in the book. So it's be proactive, right? So the most successful and highly effective people are those who proact. They don't wake up and see how I feel. Do I feel like working out? Do I not? Do I want to write today? Do I want to search for a job? No. They're like, nope, this is the plan. This is, I have to proact. I have to plan for when I'm not feeling at my best. And what's my strategy then? Plan A, plan B. Begin with the end in mind. And this is why we do visualizations. This is why I do a vision board class every year without fail, whether it snows, rains, or whatever, we do this class, because you want to visualize how you want your end of the year to look so that you can back into it with all the plans and strategies and mindset things to get you there. Put first things first. So, you want to be in touch with your core values and your core priorities, and make sure that, I always used to teach when I did a lot of training for entrepreneurs, when I was in network marketing days, I would teach the folks on my team to do their income producing work first. I'm like, the biggest way to get off track is to start your day doing the crap work, the stuff that really doesn't matter. If you do your income producing work first, I know Jonathan gets up at 5 a.m. and, he's at it right at 6 a.m. He's following up with leads, following up with prospects, reaching out to people, getting them plugged into meetings. That's going to lead to the growth of the business. And that's what we mean. So put first things first so that when your energy dips and you don't feel like doing the heavy lift, you've already done it. And again, it's easier said than done, but hold that as a guiding principle. Think win-win. So the most effective people out there are always thinking about, how do I make this a win for my customer, for myself, for my constituents, stakeholders involved? How do I approach problems from a win-win perspective? And then number 5, seek first to understand, then to be understood. So ask a lot of questions, the 5 W's, who, what, when, where, why, and then of course, how, and come from a place of curiosity rather than judgment or assumption. Is a very effective strategy. And then synergize. And by that, it's, working with people that you mesh well with, whose energies and talents and skills complement yours, and, will help you rise to the occasion so you can maximize your performance. And then the last one, number 7, and it's purposely at the bottom there to call it out specifically, is sharpen the saw. And what we mean by that is the most effective people are those who spend time on self-renewal. And that's why there's so much focus on mental fitness and meditation and self-care, thankfully, in our society now, in our culture, is because there's finally a realization of how critical that is. You can't be your best and give your best to any employment or business or family, relationship for that matter, if you don't take care of yourself first. So, we kind of know that. It seems like, we hear a lot about it, but how much do we really practice and prioritize it? So that's part of the putting first things first. Put you first. That's why I get up a little bit earlier every day. I'm not getting up at 5, but I try to get up at 6:30 and do stuff for me first. It's exercise, even if it's only 5 minutes. It's meditate, even if it's only 5 minutes. It's hydrate, even if it's just 1 cup of water. It's like I check all those boxes and I take care of me first, and it makes me a better person to handle everything that's coming.
Patty,
Okay.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Just review Synergize again. I missed it. Thank you.
Sure. Synergize is, really it gets to the energy aspect of things, which, we don't have a ton of time to dive too much into, but Synergize is, it's like collaboration. It's, figuring out how to work with others who are different, but have complementary skills, different energy levels, and being able to get somewhere, so it's creating a sense of synergy is being able to move things forward with what you have. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you.
Sure. And I'm not doing justice on any of these 7 habits. This is just a very high level. I just wanted to introduce enough to be of value and also to pique your interest so that, if you read the book, you can get all of the rich content on this. So here's what I'd like you all to do. So pick up your pens and papers and take a moment or two to reflect on and write down what's one new habit you want to develop that will best support your progress towards a very important goal that you have right now. And it could be a personal goal or a professional goal. So I'll give you a quiet moment to reflect on that. Does everyone have a desired new habit that you're working on?
Yes.
Okay, so
Yes.
let me
Yes.
bring it to the next slide. Thank you.
Can we post it?
Here we go. Yeah, well, you can put in the chat group if you want to share it with others, because I know, we are all about collaboration and accountability. But let me walk you through the next step. So designing a new habit, this is the formula here. So you want to think about what's the cue for you performing that new habit. So it could be, if it's a morning habit, it could be when your alarm goes off, or it could be, after you brush your teeth or after you have your coffee, the new thing is going to be inserted there, right? So what's the cue that will signal that it's time for this thing to happen or that it is happening? And then, so you want to write this down as I'm talking you through it. So what's the cue? And I'll have someone volunteer to share in a moment, but I'm going to walk you through the whole framework first. Then you want to consider what's the craving, right? So what is it that you're craving to get from this new habit, right? So it could be, again, I'm trying to use a different example. If you are a writer, we'll go back to that example, you may be craving to have made progress towards your writing goal. Let's say you have a deadline and you're like, okay, well, I'm craving the completion of this so that I can celebrate that I've gotten it done. Or I'm craving that sense of being in the zone, the creative zone, and the feeling that brings me, because a lot of positive hormones get released when I'm in my creative zone. So the response is the thing that you do, right? So, for my workout routine, it's the actual exercise, it's the getting on the bike, it's, the response could be the writing, it could be, it's the execution or the actual action that you're going to take. And then the reward, what's the reward? And you have to be really clear on that, because that's what's going to drive you to actually create this habit and stick with it. So jot those 4 components down, and don't worry, it doesn't have to be perfect. Don't overthink it too much. You can come back to it, and I can send you some additional content to help you if that's good after the workshop today. But just do your best for now to kind of get your initial thoughts on paper.
Hey, Patty, I think
Yeah.
I'm confusing craving and reward. So
Okay.
reward is the end result. Craving is what again?
The craving is, it's like if you think about the smoker, right? That's probably a better example, right? So the cue is, let's say they see someone else smoking, right? It's like, oh gosh, I'm craving that nicotine rush, that adrenaline, that whatever. I've never smoked, so I don't know how it feels, but like they're craving that, the benefit that they get, right? So the response is either going to be they pick up a cigarette and they smoke it, and they get the reward of the craving, of the relaxation feeling or whatever, or the response is going to be they do something different than picking up a cigarette. Maybe they have a drink of seltzer water or something, or they have a cookie instead. I don't know, and the reward is that they get some mental or physical benefit some other way. Does that help?
Maybe.
So the craving, think about it just in simplicity. Craving is like the thing you want. When you crave sugar, right? You crave it. If you crave, trying to think of all the other examples. It's the thing you want. The reward is the thing you actually get. And when we go through an example, it may help a little bit more in a moment. So the next component is, and the final one is, how will you make it obvious, attractive, easy, and satisfying? So that habit loop that we covered. So how can you take this new habit and make it obvious, attractive, easy, and satisfying? And again, if you can't even touch on all four of those cylinders right now, just do a few, do what you can. You can come back to this later when you have more headspace and more time, and you can flush it out. Because I'll get at least a few people to share, and that may help you flush this out a little further. So I'm actually does everyone have these 8 things written down? Cue, craving, response, reward, and then make it obvious, attractive, easy, and satisfying. So I'm going to stop sharing my slides for a second so I can connect with you guys. I'm missing your faces. All right, so who wants to share? It doesn't have to be fully baked or perfect, so please don't let your perfectionism kick in here. Who wants to share? Go ahead, Ethan.
Oh, thank you. First of all, Patty, that was fantastic. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I wrote, and I need to figure out if it's specific enough. Send one person every weekday a personalized invite to connect through July 1st.
Okay. That's the new habit?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay, take me through the whole thing though. So what's the cue, the craving, the response, the reward?
So the cue is anytime I happen to see a really interesting LinkedIn post or get an email invite to an upcoming event, trade show, conference, or if somebody like Patty mentions somebody really interesting like Thomas, I'll say, tell me more about Thomas. And then I may refer to Thomas and say, Patty was talking about you. I'd love to connect. The craving is, I restarted recently my consulting practice to sort of fill a pipeline of very pre-qualified leads. The response, I think I missed this. So maybe you can walk me through the response. To be able to send each of these invites a highly personalized intro to invite by learning something about them beforehand.
Okay, yep, that's a good, yep, that's on point, the response.
Okay. The reward is to meet really interesting people who share my passions or interests, and also people who down the road we can share, providing each other very, very pre-qualified leads that may lead to business opportunities.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and feeling the
That's
sense of like,
fully
it
correct.
was worth it, right? It was worth your investment of effort and time to have these pre-qualified leads and to build these relationships and build this pipeline.
Right, and I was very specific in the reward. I indicated mutually beneficial relationships.
Great. Love it. I love it. Great job. You get to teach next time.
Not up to me.
Now, do you want to take it a step further and tell us how you would meet all the other criteria, make it obvious and attractive and easy?
No. No, I mean, I
Or
haven't
we
gotten
can
that
help you.
far.
Let's help him.
I'll let Patty or Martha jump in or Bill. No, I didn't get that far.
That's fine. That's fine. I won't push you this time. Next time I will. It's all good. Who else wants to share what they're for? The cue, the response, I'm sorry, I'm getting tripped up on my words here now. They're four components. The cue, the craving, the response, the reward.
I'll go if no one else, if no one else wants to.
Go for it.
Okay, so the habit that I'm trying to form is to put aside time to organize my electronic files, and we're trying not to have any paper anymore.
Mhm.
So the cue, I think, is the time of it's not something that has to be done every day, because I mean, it might be better to do it every day. I don't know, but it might be a specific day of the week and a specific time, like every Friday morning I do this.
Mhm.
And then the craving is organization, and I mean, that's mainly the craving, I think. Does that make sense, Patty? Organization.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the thing you really want. You're literally craving it. You're craving to feel that sense of organization. Mhm.
And then the response is actually doing the organization and shredding. Once we have like a compliant software that everything needs to be in, and once it's in there and you check it, you're allowed to shred anything, so you don't have any paper. So that would be the response. And the reward is peace and order to my life. And yeah, that's it, I guess.
Okay. And do you have any thoughts on any of the four aspects of the habit loop? So any ways that you could make it easy, attractive, any of those four components? Doesn't have to be all four of them, just any of them.
Yeah. Well, it's already obvious because I work from home. So, and nothing can, for my business, nothing can be allowed, nothing can be out, everything has to be locked, and I only have a 2-drawer locked area. So it's very obvious, because when I'm trying to get things out of there, if there's no room, that means and it's right there. Like, I see it all the time, so it is very obvious. I guess it's all the same type of thing. Attractive. Let's see.
Is there any way you can build in some visualization of like, that reward aspect, like to make it more even more attractive?
Yeah, maybe. Being that I've tried this before and it didn't work, I'm gonna follow these steps and hope that this time maybe I was missing the 4 bottom parts. Yeah, I mean, I should be able to do this when I look at these steps and I say easy.
It's okay.
Yeah, it is
It's not as easy
not
as
a
we think.
complicated thing. It's just making the time to do it. And like you said, having it, once you succeed at it, I think then you feel better about it and you have your peace and order, and then that will fuel you to keep going, I think.
Absolutely. No, it absolutely does. And like I said, I mean, just writing it down, write down what you have so far, And then you can add to it later, Tracy. So it's totally fine. I don't want to put you totally on the spot here.
So Patty, I have a question regarding,
Yes.
Tracy said, I hope that I do this. Don't you think it's incredibly helpful if you have a, well, we can call it a habit accountability group? You
Mhm.
say, you have a group of 4 people or 3 people, or it doesn't matter. And you say, okay, what's the habit we're going to form? And you actually kind of keep track of each other. And it's to me, that added motivation, I mean, personally, it helps me. I don't know if
Mhm.
it's helpful for others, but to me, that's always very helpful. Like if you're a
Mhm.
runner and you go out and you're doing it with others, I know
Yep.
people,
Yeah,
really are
absolutely.
motivated to go run because their group is running.
Exactly. And that's part of the synergy of the 7 habits, best practices. So absolutely. I think, if accountability partnerships or groups are one way, but another way, and I was trying to pull the slides back up, but my mouse just froze up on me. So I'm not going to worry about that. But this is another strategy. Can you all see this glass jar?
Mhm.
So you don't have to keep a spreadsheet to track your progress. This glass jar, I put a rock in here. I have all these pretty rocks that are different colors. And I'm a girly girl, so I'm into pretty things, right? So every time I do my morning exercise routine, I put a rock in the jar. And this jar sits on my desk. It's pretty, it's good to look at. But it's positive reinforcement, because at the end of the week, I'm like, hey, look how many rocks I have in my jar. I'm on track, right? So it gives me that positive reinforcement. So you could do that a number of ways. You could write it down on a piece of paper. How many times did you do the thing you said you were going to do? So for like Marta, when she was trying to start drinking 60 ounces, you have a tracking tool. You're like, all right, Tuesday I hit the mark, Wednesday I was off, Tuesday I hit the mark, Thursday I was close. But like net by the end of the week, 80% of the week I was on track towards my goal. So I'm really, excited about that. My daughter's keeping a sleep journal because she's having trouble with sleeping. And so, she thinks it's a really bad issue, but I said, you know what, let's track it. So every morning, she just fills in 3 things. Like, was it easy, somewhat difficult, or very difficult to fall asleep? And what was the thing that helped you actually fall asleep? So we're like documenting, the aspects of this so that, is it using more scented oil at night before bed that's going to wind her down? Is it the reading, a nice, easy book? What's the thing that actually, gets her to unwind so she can sleep better? So, but we're tracking it. So find a way to track it as a way to hold yourself accountable and keep it top of mind.
I'm just envisioning your daughter's teasing you for, like, oh no, mom, you're gonna we have to improve 1% again on, brushing my teeth or whatever it is.
No, I'm not the anal retentive mom, but I could be if I was left to my own devices. Yeah. No, but but I use that principle even with simple things like getting them to eat more vegetables. I'm like, can they have one more green bean? But I don't say it to them that way. I'm just like, here. But I do get 1% more vegetables in them every week, and they don't even realize it, because in my mind, I have that guiding principle. What's the 1%? Right? It's all about opportunity, so 1% more sleep, 1% more veggie intake, 1% more saving your money at the end of the week. I have 1 less cup of Starbucks, and I saved a lot of money. We use it towards vacation, fun spending. So if you got 1 or 2 principles from this today, that just figure out how you're going to use it immediately. And that hopefully will make this a good use of your hours, whether it's the 1%, use the habit formation guidelines, and really start to visualize why do you want to do this thing that you say is something important to do? What's the benefit, and how can you use that to keep you on track when life tries to pull you off track?
Patty, would you mind if I ask everyone to type into the chat a habit they'd commit to?
Sure. Yeah, let's do that. We can send it out to
We can
everyone.
be
And then,
your accountability partners.
Can I add something?
Yes, please,
Yeah.
Thomas.
just type it in the chat group. Yeah.
Yeah, so pretty much just like how we're so meticulous when it comes to understanding how much money we have in our bank account. So you pretty much track the things that you find that's important. So look at your habits as the same way. And so
Yep.
Patty, as a fellow person that's focused on habit correction, I appreciate this workshop. It was amazing.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, I want to chat with all of you offline, so feel free to reach out to me. For some reason, my mouse, my cursor is totally frozen, so I can't pull the slides back up, but I can send them. Oh, wait, here it goes. Here it goes.
Change the battery.
Yeah, that's probably what it is. Let me see if I can go back. I just had like a couple more ending slides, and I will stay on for as long as you guys want for questions. Hold on, let me pull this back up. Okay. You all see that now?
Yes,
Yes.
Okay.
except for the things, the gray areas.
I know. The
Okay.
top, yeah. So last two things really quick. Where do you go from here? These are the two books that I referenced that I highly recommend. So it's The Atomic Habits by James Clear and The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. And there's a couple of YouTube links here, and also the 6 most important lists. So if you're one of those people that's like, organization is your priority and you're trying to figure out how to keep yourself on track throughout the day with your execution of your work, the Ivy Lee method, which is creating a 6 most important list, which I'm also a big advocate of. I've been using it with my clients for years, and it's a game changer. It's basically writing down your to-do list the night before, but then putting it in order of priority, with the top priority being number 1, second, third, etc. And then tomorrow when you wake up, you just hit the ground running because you have your list. You don't have to think about it, but you have to stay on track and do number 1 first, the first priority, and don't move on to the second one until you finish the first one. So there's an article, that's the link to the article that explains the whole method. And it does require discipline, but when you can implement that habit and get into it on a regular basis, it's a game changer as far as getting more done. Because even if you only get 3 out of the 6 things on your list done, if you're doing the 3 most important things, then net for the week, you're hitting the mark. You're doing the things that are really most beneficial to your life and your business. And that's what we want. And that's what the most successful people, and dare I say the wealthiest people, they learn that at an early age, and that's what they do. So we can take a page from their book. Bottom line though, take action. It's either day 1 or 1 day, you decide, right? So it's all about making choices. So we want to choose wisely. And if any of you would like help sharpening the saw, focusing on putting you first, getting yourself in order, and so that you can then implement the 1 habit that's going to be a game changer, I'm offering a super discounted rate for a 45-minute coaching session. My rate is normally, much more than that, but for this community, I'd love to just offer you the $75 rate just for a one-time session if I can be of help, because you guys are amazing. And you're part of our tribe, and I want to support you in any way that I can. So we'll send out, all of this information with the links and the tools after today. And, if anyone wants to take advantage of, booking with me, you can. Okay, so I'll leave you with these quotes before we get into some questions. Watch your thoughts because they become your words. Watch your words because they become your actions. Watch your actions, they become your habits. And watch your habits because they become your character. Watch your character because it becomes your destiny. So I thought that was really powerful and appropriate ending, as is the Lewis Howes quote. I have learned that champions aren't just born, champions can be made when they embrace and commit to life-changing positive habits. So instead of avoiding the structure and the rigidity of, doing things consistently, we want to reframe that and embrace it, because that's the gateway to having the things that we say we want. And that's all I got.
Thank you, Patty. So it was wonderful, really. I mean, a great, really well-structured workshop that has some really specific takeaways that I hope we can all take advantage of. So does anyone have any questions? So it's 4, we have 4 minutes left, but Patty has agreed to stay on to answer all the questions that you might have. So
Patty, it's not necessarily a question, but I just wanted to throw something your way and just get your feedback. I realized there were a few people, they were a bit confused with craving, right? One thing that I pretty much do to kind of create my own craving is visualization, right? So after I've created, my schedule, I have my, everything written down, before I actually take action on that task, I will visualize myself doing that task and then focus on the end result, right? So this way you're building the craving because you visualize it. Whatever you see, your body actually feels as well. And then I'm motivated to get it done. So I think that might be a healthy way to implement that craving.
Absolutely. Thank you. That's a very good point.
So Patty, I also want to bring something up, and it was from, one of the agendas we've done at Collaberex. It was a short TED talk. I think we did it, I don't know, it was going around more than a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago, but it was on forming habits. And the speaker said, when you start off doing something, make it, her phrasing was ambitiously unambitious. Start with something really small. Don't say I want to be a runner, so I'm going to run a half marathon, and
Right.
train for it and all this. Say
Or I'm going to run 5 miles a day. Start with 1 mile or half a mile.
Right. Say,
yeah.
She said, I'm going to run 1 minute a day, which is a ridiculous thing. But she said, do something very small that will create the neural pathways in your brain. So once you keep doing this small thing, in a relatively short period of time, doing it will feel more comfortable than not doing it.
Right.
And then you build from there. And I thought it was a really good thing. I remember in a group, everyone committed to, like someone said, well, I'm going to put another piece of lettuce on my sandwich. Someone said, I'm going to do planks. And she said, I'm going to do it for 2 minutes a day. And everyone looked at her and she says, okay, 30 seconds, things like that. And everyone
you got to make it so small that you can't fail. Right. That's the key here, is that it's got to be. So here's what you can do when you're reflecting on all this later, is ask yourself, what's the minimum that I'm willing to do to advance this or to implement this? What's the minimum? So is it the 2-minute run? Is it the 2 minutes of writing? Is it the, and then as you get further along with it, you can up your game a little bit. So I now have an accountability buddy for my workouts. We text each other every morning at 7 a.m. and we just say yay or nay, we did it or we didn't do it. There's no judgment, there's no conversation, no explanation. It's just yes or no. Right. But the fact that I have to actually deliver that text is like, it holds me accountable. And then I think about the fact that I'm going to feel good the more yeses I have throughout the week, than the no's and whatnot. But what's the minimum effort? What's the minimum task, quantity of time that you're willing to put into this?
Right. This speaker said, what you want to do is take motivation out of the equation.
It's about
in other words, our motivation goes up and down, but if you can do something that's so minimal that starts a good habit, then it's much more likely you'll get it going. You'll start that runway. So I thought that was very important.
It's okay if you have to drop. I totally understand. Yeah. Does anyone else have a question or a comment?
I also thought your comment on what's your identity? How do you identify yourself was key. So the people that are still here, what's your identity? How do you, like we're talking about exercise, right? Do you view yourself as a fit person, as an athlete? Anyone? Yeah, Thomas?
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
That word I am is such a powerful word, right?
Yes.
And that's one thing that I try to reinforce, that whatever you say, I am this, I'm that, whatever you say, your mind's going to believe it. So if you tell yourself, I'm not healthy or I am lazy, then you're going to believe it. So be careful on how you use that word.
Yeah, like when people say, "Oh, I'm bad with money," I'm like, "Oh no, no, no. Let's no. How about you're good with money? You're getting better with money." Like, I am someone who saves. I'm a saver. That's It's positive affirmations, but it's a very strategic way to do it. It's not saying it for the sake of sounding nice. It's like, no, that's the identity I'm building. I'm moving into that. I am that.
Yes, indeed. And plus, you actually feel it. It's not just like you literally, uh, there are chemicals that are going off, right? You actually feel it in your body.
Mhm. You do. When you affirm something, you do. It's a whole different ball game.
Yeah, the mind is very tricky. We actually hear ourselves talk, especially when we're not happy with ourselves.
Mhm. Yep.
Yeah, but I mean, as we age, you think I'm a young person. I'm not an old person. I'm a young person. I'm an
Mhm.
athlete. I'm a tennis player. I'm a, whatever, that's, if you think that and you believe it, then you'll become it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
And we can say it in a way that doesn't trip up the mind. Like, I'm not going to say I'm 30 years old. I'll just say I'm youthful.
Mhm.
Right.
Right.
There you go. Mhm.
Right. That's the distinction. That's very well put, Bill. Very well put. Yeah. Because sometimes people, I get pushback sometimes from clients. They're like, "Oh, but positive affirmations is just false positivism." I'm like, no, it's not. It depends on how you use them, and how you construct them.
You know what, Patty? So whenever I come across that type of objection, I normally
Mhm.
take it back to the example of the placebo effect, the placebo versus
Mhm.
nocebo, right? If you say something and you believe in it, it's going to happen. Just like the sugar pill, the doctor give you the sugar pill and tell you, "Oh, this is the
The
cure, and
antidote.
the antidote, right? You take it and
Yeah.
you feel better." It's all about your mindset. So you could probably use that example, to
True.
counter object.
Yeah.
One thing I did, Patty, when I was writing the book, I mean, I could not just say, okay, I'm writing every day. That just
Mhm.
wasn't reasonable because I don't have the energy every day. But
Mhm.
what I did on a lot of days, I said, look, I'm not sure, but let me just try for 2 minutes, like you were saying.
Mhm.
And after 2 minutes, lots of times that would just roll into 2 hours, right?
Yeah.
But if it didn't, like if after 5 or 10 minutes I was still laboring there, then I would say,
Mhm.
okay, no, now this is negative. This is tough. This is
It's
this
not
is
the right
right.
time.
This is
Yeah.
not right. What else do I feel like doing right now? Well, right now I feel like doing XYZ. My
Mhm.
energy was for that, so I went to do XYZ, and it worked out. So I didn't want to say that early on because that's a confusing message. But yes, starting something is a great thing. But then I think we also have to give some feedback to
Mhm.
to look to see if it's really going to work this time or not.
Right. Absolutely. Because sometimes if you gift yourself the time and the grace and the space to do the thing you really want to do, like go take a walk,
Yeah.
that you get benefit from it, and then you come back and now you can write,
Exactly.
or do the laundry or do whatever the thing is you're avoiding doing.
Yes.
So yeah.
Yes, in creating bad habits, I have to get in the habit of not rewarding myself. If I create a good habit, I don't want to reward myself with a bad habit.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I don't want to say, "Oh, good, I just exercised for an hour and a half. Now I get to have that ice cream sundae that I want."
Oh, I see. So,
Right.
so your good habit had a qualification to it. It had an extension. If I do it, then I get the ice cream. Is that it?
I find that one of the bad things about these Apple Watches
Yeah.
is it exaggerates the amount of calories that you burn.
Oh, goodness.
Mhm.
And then you look at it and go, "Oh, wow, that's great. I can eat whatever I want. I'm ordering whatever I want tonight."
Uh-oh.
So,
That's
so
funny.
that's what you were really craving, the ice cream. See, you had a false craving at first. The real craving was the ice cream afterwards.
Right, exactly. True.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you, Patty. And by the way, I wake up at 5:30, not 5. 5 is way
Okay.
too early.
You're struggling, Jonathan.
Okay.
Anything before 6 a.m. to me is offensive. So it's all in the same
Yes.
So
ballpark.
it starts with the 5. Yeah, that's hard. Yeah.
Yes.
It's a habit you have to get into.
Yeah.
I think you should work on 5:59. So
Well, no, it's got a
1%,
six.
1% out of the
Yeah.
comfort zone, yeah.
1 minute, Beth, lower each time.
That's funny. That's not a bad strategy, touche.
Just change the time on your clock. So
Yeah.
it misreads it. So it's not really, 6
There
o'clock.
you
It
go.
really is 5:55 or whatever.
That's funny.
Yeah,
We'll
guys
hold
are
you
awesome.
accountable for that.
No.
Thank you,
Patty.
everyone.
Have a good one.
Patty,
Cheers.
thank you so
Patty.
much.
Thank you.
You're so welcome. This was fun.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
So Jonathan, what's